The jungle pulsed with a light that wasn't sunlight. Every leaf shimmered with veins of blue fire, every vine dripped with silver dew that glowed like stars. And there I was, lost, bruised, my ship burning somewhere behind me when she stepped out of the trees. Her silhouette was taller than any human's, carved in smooth lines and impossible grace. Her skin carried a soft radiance, as if the night itself bowed to her presence. Eyes like liquid sapphire fixed on mine, steady, unblinking, seeing through me in a way that no one ever had. My heart lurched in my chest. I should have been afraid she wasn't human, after all, but fear was the last thing I felt. "Traveler," she breathed, her voice low and musical, "show me what it is you hide, what power you carry between the fragile armor of your kind." The words slid into the space between us, heavier than any weapon. My throat went dry, because I couldn't tell if she was asking about my strength, my secrets, or something far more dangerous. The first time I laid eyes on her, I thought she was a mirage. My escape pod had slammed into the swamp after the battle, flames licking the canopy, alarms screaming in my ears. I crawled from the wreckage with smoke in my lungs and blood in my mouth. The world was alien in every sense, trees that looked like pillars of crystal, vines that pulsed with a heartbeat I could almost feel under my boots. The air shimmered with glowing spores that drifted like falling snow. That's when I heard the soft rustle. A sound too deliberate to be the wind. I spun, hand instinctively on the hilt of the vibroknife strapped to my thigh. My visor's sensors struggled with the haze, but even without them I could sense her. A presence. Something, watching. Then she appeared. Tall, statuesque, her body wrapped in strands of bioluminescent silk that shifted like liquid light. Her skin wasn't one color but a canvas of midnight blues and violets, as if the galaxy itself had been painted onto her. Two silver eyes burned in the glow, sharp yet impossibly tender. She moved closer, and I realized she was at least a head taller than me, her steps silent on the alien soil. I'd fought warlords, smugglers, even machines that thought themselves gods, but nothing had ever left me this breathless. Every part of me screamed to run, yet something deeper held me still. Who are you?" I managed, my voice rough. She tilted her head, as if amused. "Names are small cages. But if you must, call me Solara." She said it as though the syllables were a secret shared only with me. The glow from her markings seemed to pulse with the rhythm of my own racing heart. She noticed, I could tell by the way her lips curved into the faintest smile. "You came from the fire in the sky," she said. "But you carry another fire, hidden. Do you even know what it is?" Her words hit me harder than the crash. Hidden fire. Hidden power. I thought of the years I'd spent running from commanders who saw me as a weapon, from scientists who whispered that I was an experiment gone wrong, from those who laughed at the idea that someone like me, someone born frail and unwanted, could ever matter. I swallowed hard. "Maybe I do." Her long fingers, tipped with faintly glowing claws, brushed against her own collarbone, then pointed toward me. "Show me. Show me what lies between the strength you pretend to fear and the weakness you try to hide. Show me what makes you more." The jungle was silent, as if the entire planet was waiting for my answer. My pulse thundered in my ears, a drumbeat of desire and dread. My hand was still on my weapon, but my fingers had gone slack. Because the truth was, I didn't want to fight her. I wanted to know her. I took one step forward, into the glow of her aura. The air thickened, charged, every breath tasting like lightning and wild honey. Her gaze never wavered. She leaned down, so close I could feel the warmth radiating off her skin, smell the faint, intoxicating scent of something floral and otherworldly. Her lips parted as if she were about to speak again. And then the jungle screamed. The ground trembled beneath us. A deep, guttural roar rolled through the glowing canopy, shaking loose a rain of luminous spores. Solara's eyes narrowed, her body suddenly taut as a bowstring. She straightened, turning her head toward the sound. "They've found us," she whispered. Before I could ask who they were, she reached out, her glowing fingers grazing my arm, and pulled me into the shadows. My heart wasn't just racing anymore, it was ready to explode. Darkness swallowed us. My pulse echoed. Her hand lingered against mine. And in that breathless, trembling moment, I realized the truth. Whether she was danger or destiny, I couldn't turn back now. The jungle swallowed us whole. 1 second we were suspended in that charged silence, her glowing body close enough to set every nerve in me on fire, and the next she pulled me through a curtain of vines into a cavern of light. Bioluminescent spores spiraled around us like tiny galaxies, drifting in slow, graceful arcs. The air vibrated with an energy I couldn't name, as if the planet itself had a pulse. I stumbled after her, boots sinking into soft moss that glowed faintly underfoot. My body screamed in protest from the crash, but the warmth of her hand against my wrist kept me moving. She didn't look back once, only guided me deeper, her long hair glinting with streaks of silver blue as it caught the glow. Finally, when the roars faded into the distance, she stopped. She released me slowly, as though testing whether I would stay or bolt. My body betrayed me. I stayed. Who were they? I asked, my voice too loud against the hushed air. Her eyes, twin moons in the dark, met mine. Hunters, she said softly. They followed the fire from your sky. They think you are weak. Prey. I wanted to laugh, but it came out harsh. They'll find out I'm not. I tapped the blade at my thigh, even as I felt the weight of her gaze pressing on me. She tilted her head again, a motion so feline it made my chest tighten. And yet, you hesitate. You carry something more dangerous than any blade, but you do not trust it. Why? I clenched my jaw. How could I explain something I barely understood myself? The gene program they'd buried in me, the strength I sometimes felt surge through my veins, the reason the warlords wanted me alive and chained. I had spent years hiding it, terrified of what it might make me do. And now this luminous stranger had seen it instantly. You talk as if you know me, I said. I feel you, she whispered, placing her palm over her heart. Her skin gave off a faint, living glow, and when she drew closer the light danced across my armor, turning the dull metal into something that looked alive. We are not strangers. Not anymore. A shiver ran through me, not from fear, but from something I didn't dare name. Solara, what do you want from me? She smiled, slow and deliberate, as if tasting the weight of the question. I want to know what you are. I want to understand why the stars themselves guided you here. And, she paused, her hand lifting until her fingertips almost brushed my jaw. I want to see what lies hidden, where your people carry their truth. Her words struck me again, stirring that forbidden secret deep within me. The one I'd locked away since I escaped the laboratories of the Dominion. The truth that my body wasn't just human, it was a vessel for something older, stranger, a power I had no right to wield. I don't think you'd like what you'd find, I whispered, my throat dry. Her laughter was soft, like water falling over stones. You think me so fragile? I am Solara of the Elthary, last daughter of the Sky Empress. I have faced storms that rip mountains from the earth. I have walked through fire that turned oceans to steam. And you think I would be undone by you? The way she said you was not mockery. It was hunger. The cave around us pulsed again, as though answering to her heartbeat. Strange crystalline vines coiled tighter around the stone walls, glowing brighter. She took a step closer, and I had nowhere left to retreat. The rock pressed against my back, her presence pressed from the front. My chest rose and fell too quickly, my thoughts scattering. This planet was dangerous. There were hunters outside. My ship was a burning wreck. None of it mattered. All that mattered was the impossible woman standing before me, asking to see a part of me I'd never dared reveal. She leaned close, her lips brushing the shell of my ear. You hide it here, she murmured, her hand pressing gently against my chest. A fire, a force, something even my people could never forge. Why bury it? Because it scares me. Because it kills. Because every time I've unleashed it, the world around me breaks. But none of those words came out. Instead, I found myself whispering, because it's not meant for anyone to see. She drew back, her luminous eyes narrowing, as if searching for the truth inside me. And yet, she said, it calls to me. Before I could respond, the ground trembled again. This time the sound was closer, the guttural cries of the hunters echoing through the glowing cavern. I caught a glimpse of them through the vines, massive, horned silhouettes with weapons that pulsed like living fire. Solara's body stiffened. She turned to me, her glow flaring brighter, casting the cavern into shifting blues and silvers. Stay close. If they find you, they will not just kill you. They will unmake you. Her words sent a chill down my spine. Unmake me? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached out, grabbing my hand again, pulling me deeper into the cavern. We ran, the ground lighting up with every step, our shadows stretching across the crystalline walls. The hunter's roars grew louder, closer, until it felt like the whole planet was chasing us. Finally, she pressed her hand against a wall of stone. The markings on her skin flared like lightning, and the rock split open, revealing a hidden chamber bathed in pale violet light. She pulled me inside, and the wall sealed behind us with a whisper. I staggered, gasping for breath, the adrenaline still burning in my blood. What was that? How did you? Her hand touched my lips, silencing me. You have questions, she said softly. Good. But answers come with trust. And trust comes with truth. Her glow pulsed brighter, surrounding us both in light. For the first time, I saw the full intricacy of her markings, swirling constellations that seemed to move across her skin, as though the stars themselves had been etched into her flesh. She was more than beautiful, she was transcendent, a being who made everything else feel small. And she was looking at me as if I mattered. I felt a shudder run through me. My instinct screamed again, don't reveal it, don't let it out. But her gaze was unrelenting, her presence magnetic. What do you want from me, Solara? I asked again, my voice shaking. She smiled, but there was sorrow in it this time. Not want, she said. Need. My people are dying. Our bloodlines wither. And yet when I touched you, her fingers brushed my chest again, lingering over my heart. I felt the spark. The promise of something we lost long ago. You carry it within you, hidden, as though ashamed of the gift. I swallowed hard. My hands curled into fists, not in anger but in desperation. You don't know what it costs, I said. Every time I use it, something breaks. Someone gets hurt. Then let me see, she whispered, stepping so close that the glow of her body wrapped us both in shimmering light. Let me decide whether your fear is worth the fire you keep locked away. I opened my mouth to answer when a thunderous crash split the chamber. The wall shuddered, fragments of crystal raining down. From the crack, a clawed hand pushed through, followed by another. The hunters had found us. Solara's glow flared into a brilliant storm, her body trembling with a power I couldn't fathom. She turned to me one last time, eyes blazing. Hide no more, she said, her voice trembling with urgency and desire. If you burn, burn with me. And then the wall exploded inward. Stone shards fanned across the chamber like a storm of knives. The first hunter forced its way through the breach, horns sweeping back from a plated skull, eyes like pits of coal, a chest armored in chitin that flexed and hissed. Two more piled behind it, their weapons crackling with a hungry, living hum. The air turned sharp with the scent of ozone and the bitter tang of their breath. Solara didn't retreat. She stepped in front of me, and the light in her markings rose from a glow to a blaze, constellations whirling across her skin. The first hunter lunged. The moment it crossed into her aura, its weapon sputtered. A shockwave rippled outward, bending the violet light of the chamber like heat over a desert road. The hunter staggered, confused, then roared and charged again. Down, she said without looking back. I dropped, shoulders scraping stone. The hunter's blade hissed through where my throat had been, skittering sparks. Solara moved, no wasted motion, all grace and precision, and touched the creature's chest with 2 fingers. Light poured through it as if she'd opened a window inside its body. The roar died in its throat. It crumpled, trembling, then slid to the floor with a heavy final breath. The other 2 hesitated. Then, as if remembering their nature, they split, one circling left, the other right, trying to flank. I rose to meet the left one, blade in hand. Fear made everything too clear, each detail sharp as cut glass, the hairline fracture spiderwebbing the crystalline ceiling, the pulse in the hunter's throat, Solara's presence, warm and steady a hand's breadth from my back. The left hunter swung low. I stepped inside the arc, caught the haft, and drove my shoulder into its ribs. The impact rattled my bones, pain flared bright. It barely flinched. It raised one gnarled fist. I could not take the hit and live. The thing inside me uncoiled. It started as a hum behind my sternum, then a rising tide in the blood. I tasted metal, felt a brightness in the world that wasn't light. Every breath became a bell strike. I didn't will it, it willed me. My fingers were a conduit, my bones a set of tuned strings. Energy swept up my arm and into my palm, hot, cold, impossible. Don't, I heard myself say to no one and to everything. The hunter's fist fell. I caught it. Power flared. For a heartbeat, my vision filled with geometry, arcs, ratios, a golden lattice over the world. The hunter's armor bloomed with cracks like ice on a window, silent, elegant, inevitable. When sound returned, it was the crack of breaking stone. The creature stumbled, shock in the angles of its alien face. I pushed. The force left me in a single, focused pulse. The hunter flew backward, hit the wall, and slid to the ground in a shower of violet dust. Silence. Breathing. Heat. Across the chamber, the third hunter lunged for Solara. She turned her palm outward and sang one pure note that made the chamber ring. Light rose in spirals around her arm, braided itself into a spear, and leapt. The hunter shuddered, stilled, and folded as though it had simply remembered how to lie down. The breach hissed and carved fresh shards, but no more figures pressed through. Either three had been all, or the others were reconsidering the cost. My hands shook. The hum inside me didn't fade, it built and built, as if I had opened a door and forgotten how to close it. The chamber swam. I took a step and nearly fell. Solara caught me. The heat of her body poured through the thin seams in my armor like morning through shutters. Up close, her markings slowed, all their constellations orienting toward the place her palm met my chest. She watched me with a softness that undid me more surely than any blade. "You fear yourself," she said. Not accusation, truth, held carefully. "You saw," I rasped. I felt. Her thumb traced the ridge of a scar over my heart, slow and reverent. Not a weapon. A song that forgot it was a song. I let out a breath that was almost a laugh and almost a sob. It breaks things. So does water on stone, given time. She tipped my chin up with a fingertip, a gesture so gentle it hurt. It also carves cathedrals. Beyond us, the fallen hunters groaned. One tried to rise, and Solara turned her head just enough that a ring of light tightened around its wrists like frost. It stilled. Her attention returned to me, full and unblinking. "What you carry," she said, "is kin to what my people once were. Before the rupture. Before we traded our voices for shields and our hearts for harvest counts." She looked past me, toward a memory. We held the sky on our tongues. We kept the night from falling. The hum inside me shifted, listening. It recognized something in her words and wanted to lean closer. "What happened?" I asked. A choice that looked like safety. Her smile was small and without bitterness. "We chose walls. We forgot doors." Her palm pressed against me again, the light of her markings seeping under my skin until I felt lit from within. "You are a door. Even shut, you hum." The floor thrummed, distant, rhythmic, the footfall of many. The first wave hadn't been alone. We both looked to the breach at once. "We can't hold this," I said. "Not for long." "Not like this," she agreed. "But we do not have to hold it alone." She raised her free hand and unfurled her fingers. The chamber answered, roots in the walls stirring, thin filaments of crystal rising like threads in water. They braided themselves into a helix, a living column that spun slowly, gathering light. Every turn matched the cadence of my heartbeat. Or perhaps my heart matched it. "Do you trust me?" she asked. I should have said no. I didn't know her. I didn't know myself. But trust is sometimes the shape the world takes when you've run out of good options and realize you're still here. I nodded. "Then breathe with me." We breathed. The hum aligned with the spiral. My fear found a rhythm and softened its grip. The energy inside me, which had always been a surge or a lash, began to move in curves. Solara's voice entered the space between breaths, a melody so quiet I felt it more than heard it. The helix brightened until the chamber was awash in dawn. The next wave of hunters burst through the breach. We didn't attack. We expanded. Her light wrapped them without malice, slowed their weapons, softened their angles. My power, meeting hers, no longer hammered, it resonated. The air rang like a struck bowl. The hunters staggered as if a gravity had shifted in their bones. One dropped its weapon as though it had forgotten why it held it. Another blinked, bewildered, as the rage in its face drained away into something like exhaustion. Not undone, Solara whispered. Unarmed. Still, this wouldn't last. For everyone who stilled, another pressed through, and strain crept into Solara's posture like hairline cracks in glass. The helix shook. The world tilted. Sweat beaded cold at my temples. The hum threatened to slip its track. I caught her hand tighter. She looked at me, the room's brightness reflected in her eyes. Take from me, she said. Not power, pattern. Let it teach what yours forgot. I closed my eyes and stepped into the shape of her. Not her body, not her mind, her cadence. A cathedral of pulse and breath. The power inside me listened. It took a stumbling step, then another, then fell into time. For a handful of heartbeats we became a single instrument, 2 notes in one chord, the chamber its resonant body. The breach stopped widening. The wave of bodies at its threshold slowed, confusion passing through the hunters like a wind. In the sudden, trembling pause, a low horn rolled down the tunnel beyond them, command, recall, warning. The front line backed away in jerks. One hissed at us, but it was the tired sound of a thing that had misjudged and knew it. They withdrew. Not far, not forever. Enough. Silence fell, threaded with distant retreating footfalls, the soft settling of dust, the long exhale I hadn't realized I'd held. My knees trembled. Solara's glow dimmed to something human warm. We have minutes, she said, the relief in her voice shaded with worry. No more than that. I wanted to collapse. Instead, I leaned into her, forehead against hers, both of us still catching up to our breaths. The nearness, after so much anchored fear, felt like a cliff's edge and a bed at once. You asked what I wanted, she murmured. I want this. Not war. Not hunters. Not thrones. A chord that remembers how to be sung. I swallowed, the back of my throat tight. And what do you need? Her eyes shuttered and opened. The queen looked out through the woman, the daughter through the lover. If I keep you, she said, I betray my people. If I let you go, I betray myself. She pulled back just enough to study me, as if memorizing the exact pattern of me. There is a right old, forbidden. It would bind what's in you to what's left in me. It could seed a new sky for my world. It could unmake us both. The chamber seemed to lean closer, listening. The violet light trembled like a held breath. Choose with me, she said, voice low and raw. Duty that kills slowly, or a love that might end us by dawn. The horn sounded again, nearer now. Dust shook loose from the helix. The door in the wall began to glow as if considering opening itself. I took her hand. It fit as if the space had been waiting for exactly our shapes. Tell me how, I said. Her pupils widened, swallowing stars. There is no how, she breathed, and lifted my palm to her heart. There is only yes. Outside, the hunters gathered for one final push. Inside, the first note of the right rose, a thread of light drawn between 2 trembling mouths, and everything we were tilted toward it. The chamber felt like the heart of some enormous, ancient being, every wall pulsing in rhythm with our breaths. Solara's hand pressed mine against her chest, and beneath the radiant patterns of her skin I felt something vast, something like a sun caged inside her. It answered my own hidden fire, the force I had been running from for years, and for the first time it did not rage. It harmonized. The roar of the hunters outside became thunder, a tide pressing closer, claws scraping stone. The crystalline wall that had sealed us in began to shudder with each impact, glowing cracks spiderwebbing across its surface. I braced myself for the inevitable collapse. But Solara didn't flinch. She only looked into me, as though searching my soul for a single word. Say it, she whispered, her lips almost brushing mine. Say yes. I had spent years saying no. No to generals who wanted a weapon. No to scientists who wanted a specimen. No to myself, when the fire inside me threatened to burn through my skin. But standing in front of her, feeling her warmth seep through my armor, I realized that every no had been a wall. And maybe this was the door. Yes, I breathed. The chamber erupted. Not with violence, but with music. The light in her markings leapt into my veins like rivers of molten silver, and the hum inside me finally had somewhere to go. It surged outward, not as a wild storm but as a harmony, twining with hers, rising like two voices finding the same song after a long silence. The hunters burst through. A dozen of them, weapons raised. They expected terror. They expected blood. Instead, they found themselves bathed in a brilliance that made their armor translucent. The crystalline vines lit up in sympathy, their spiral threads singing. The hunters staggered, their roars breaking into choked gasps. I saw confusion in their black eyes, rage cracking into something like fear. Solara raised her hand and sang again, her voice now braided with the sound inside me. It wasn't just music, it was gravity, a pull that wrapped the hunters and held them still, their weapons flickering out one by one. I felt their hatred pressing against me, then softening, unraveling, dissolving like smoke in wind. My own power wanted to lash out, to shatter them, but Solara's voice steadied me. We held the note together, and I watched as their monstrous forms trembled, then sank to their knees, claws scraping against the glowing floor. Not destroyed, transformed. Their plates dimmed, their roars fading into silence, as if their violence had been burned away and replaced with something fragile, something almost human. When the last of them fell silent, Solara lowered her hand. The light dimmed, but not entirely. It stayed, glowing faint beneath my skin, echoing hers. I looked down at my hands. They no longer shook. They shimmered. What did we just do? I whispered. Her lips curved into a smile both triumphant and sad. We remembered. She touched my cheek, and I leaned into her hand before I could stop myself. The chamber was quiet now, except for the sound of our breathing. She was so close, her glow painting my skin in shifting constellations. My heart thundered, not with fear this time, but with a different kind of fire. You are more than a weapon, she said softly. You are the missing half of a song my people lost. Together, we could bring it back. My chest tightened. And if we don't? Her gaze wavered, for the first time since I'd met her. Then my people fade into silence. And you, she hesitated, the glow along her throat flickering, you will keep running from yourself until there is nothing left. The choice lay before me like a cliff's edge. If I stayed, if I bound myself to her, I would never again be just a man. I would be something else, something born of two worlds. The warlords would hunt me harder. The Dominion would never stop. My life would no longer be mine. But when her hand slid into mine, and I felt the spark leap between us again, I knew the truth. My life had never really been mine. It had always been borrowed, stolen from a laboratory, shaped by hands that never cared for the person inside. Solara's eyes told me I could finally choose what it meant. Then I choose you, I said. For a moment, silence. Then the chamber opened like a flower in bloom. Vines curled back, revealing the jungle beyond not as a place of danger, but as a cathedral of light. The hunters were gone. The trees pulsed in rhythm with us, as though the planet itself approved. Solara's glow shifted from icy silver to warm gold. She laughed softly, and the sound washed through me like sunlight on cold skin. So be it, she said. From this moment, you are not alone. From this moment, neither am I. She leaned forward. Her forehead touched mine. And in that connection, the fire inside me poured into her, while her light spilled into me. It wasn't violent, wasn't destructive, it was like two halves of a melody finally resolving, a harmony so rich it felt like standing at the center of creation. The jungle outside trembled again, but not from hunters. This time, the ground shifted as flowers burst open in unison, releasing a storm of glowing spores into the sky. Trees that had been withered moments ago straightened, their crystal veins pulsing with new light. Somewhere beyond, I heard the hunters howl not in fury, but in awe. Solara's hand slid from my chest to my shoulder, holding me steady. They will come again, she whispered, her voice wrapped in both fire and song. But next time, we will be ready. I swallowed, still trembling, though not from fear. I don't even know what I am. You are human, she said firmly. And you are mine. Her silver eyes burned brighter than the twin moons overhead. That is enough. The cavern shook one last time, then stilled. The world outside was changing, its glow deepening, spreading like paint across a dark canvas. I didn't know what future awaited us. A war with her people? A union that might remake two species? Or perhaps a love that would burn everything away? But as she pressed her lips to mine, soft, searing, inevitable, I knew one thing with a clarity sharper than any blade: I wasn't hiding anymore. Not from her. Not from myself. And as the jungle sang around us, as the glow inside my chest answered the constellations on her skin, I understood the strange truth I had run from my entire life. The fire I carried wasn't meant to destroy. It was meant to join. To heal. To love. Maybe it would end me. Maybe it would end us both. But maybe, just maybe, it would light a new sky. Moral of the story: true strength isn't in hiding what burns within us, but in finding the one who sees that fire, accepts it, and teaches us that love can transform even the most dangerous power into something beautiful.